Welcome back to the Mountain View. I'm in the basement tonight. I'm not really working on anything. I'm just going to talk to you a little about do-it-yourself projects, why we do it, why you should, and some of the ways that you can save money. To begin with, we started this because this house came up for sale. By trade or by education, I'm a writer, so I spend my time researching things and writing about them. When this house came up, I knew it was one of the older houses in the city, and I had done research before for a National Register Historic District here in Whitesburg. Well, as I did a little more research, I found out this was like the third oldest building in town. And then I found out that I found a newspaper clipping from 1908, or 1909 rather, that said John Fox Jr. was on the register that night at the Mountain View. Well, the universe is sitting over my shoulder saying, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. So my brother and I bought this. Now we got it cheap. We bought it from the bank, and we're not rich. You watch these home improvement shows and people buy a house for $300,000, they put another $500,000 in it. We're not going to do that here. We're going to spend probably more on this house than we paid for it when we bought it, but not that much. And by doing it ourselves, we can save probably 2/3 of the amount that we would spend if we were hiring somebody to do it. You can do the same thing. I'll give you an example here in the basement. These pumps were found in a workroom here in the basement, and these are pretty unusual pumps. These are booster pumps for a boiler system. This had an electric boiler system that was put in probably in the 1970s. It's not in use anymore, so we're never going to need these pumps. These things are expensive, so we're either going to sell them on eBay or we're going to take them to the scrapyard if we can't do that. The same thing with these metal posts down here from the front porch. Now these things are so rusty, nobody will ever have a use for them. But they can be taken to a scrapyard, melted down, and then they will be useful to somebody. This signpost in the front yard is an example of how you can either save yourself money or you can cost yourself money. This thing looked pretty decrepit, still doesn't look too good, but we've replaced the top board, which was the worst, and we will cover this with copper when we're done. Same thing with these balls on top of this. We'll take those off and replace those with caps. In the end, this is going to look like a different sign. It'll be painted. We've had a metal sign cut by a local sign maker, and it'll go on here with LEDs behind it. We save money on that by doing the LEDs ourselves. This sign also could have cost us a lot more if I hadn't checked the building codes. To begin with, we thought we would take this down and move it to a different location. If we do that, we have to go through the zoning board again, and they have to approve the sign, which they may or may not do. Changes have been made over the years, so this thing could be in non-compliance. But if we leave it here, it's fine, it's grandfathered in. So we're going to leave it in the same spot. If we need to repair anything, as long as we are doing less than 50% at a time, it doesn't require a permit. So this is where it stays. This has already been fixed. Cover will go over this. Caps on the posts will be painted. So no big changes, not more than 50% of the sign. The posts are still staying in the ground. So that's something you want to look at. If you're working on your own stuff, especially in the city, you need to ask what permits are required, and if there's something you're not sure about, get the building inspector to come out and look at it before you do the work. Okay, we've already done videos on how we made these posts and how we put them up, but give you an idea of how much this saved us. Each one of these posts, if we buy them already made, are about $115 a piece. The newel post that will go at the steps is about $160. This cost us for all three of these, plus the newel post, $200. We put them in ourselves, so there was no labor cost involved, and that's something that you can do. It's not that hard. This stairway doesn't meet code. We're going to have to replace this, but we're not going to replace the whole thing, because if we replace the whole thing, that puts us into a whole other set of codes that we have to meet. So the railing is going to change, which will make it meet code, and these treads are going to change. We'll do this ourselves. It takes 14 10-foot 2x4s to redo these treads. That's a lot cheaper than having somebody else come in and do it, buy treads or cut the treads for us. Those are things you can do that are simple, they're easy, they get the job done. Now you may say that I don't know how to do this stuff, that's why I hire somebody to do it. Well, presumably if you're watching this video, that's so you can learn to do this stuff. Some people also will say, I don't have the tools, I know how to do it, but I don't have the tools. Or if I had the tools, I could do that. Let me tell you something, tools are a lot better investment than paying somebody else to come and do the work for you. I didn't have all the tools to do this. I've had them over the years, but I've lost them, some were stolen, and I had to go out and buy more. But they last, all right? That's something you really need to look at. When you're doing this kind of thing, you need tools to work with. Don't hesitate to go out and buy a drill if you need a drill. If you need a saw, go buy a saw. That's something that you're going to be using for many years over many different projects probably. So go ahead and spend that money instead of buying it, instead of letting somebody else buy it and then paying them to come and do the work. Finally, don't be afraid to say, I'm really uncomfortable with this. I don't think I can do it. By doing the other things DIY, the things that I can't do or the things that I don't feel comfortable doing can be hired out to somebody else. The electrical in this building was hired out to a commercial electrician because this is going to be a commercial building. We can't have the liability of somebody doing it who's not licensed. So go ahead and get that done by somebody who knows what they're doing. Plumbing, same thing with plumbing. We're hiring a licensed plumber to do the plumbing here. Yeah, I can do it, but I'm not going to do that considering this is a public building, or will be a public building. Other things, not so much. We're remodeling the bathroom ourselves. We're going to repaint, which we'll hire that done because I know somebody who's really good at it, and I'm not really good at it. But we'll get these things done, and it's going to cost us a heck of a lot more if we hired a contractor. Thanks for joining us. Come back the next time on the Mountain View.